very good things in it. It to be completely honest though, the biggest difference between Red Hat and Canonical is Red Hat over engineers everything. And they're brilliant. The Red Hat engineers are brilliant, and they over engineer shit, and they don't make it usable. It's one of their regular problems. And Canonical is really, really good at simplifying and thinking about usability, but they sometimes lack the engineering expertise that Red Hat has. And what would be really great is if we could get the middle of that. You know, I just wish that they had done that. I wish, and Canonical's got great engineers, don't get me wrong, but the reason that I want to promote Canonical and Ubuntu is because their products have always been, to a fault. I mean, Snap comes to mind, right? Have always been like focused on usability above everything else. If they I happen to think that over engineering is a sign of somebody you don't want to work with. But that's there are engineers in this world, and if you've been around for any amount of time, there are engineers in this world who think that the most over engineered complex solution is the best one because only smart people understand it. And I cannot overstate how stupid that is, and how those type of engineers should be weeded out and fired immediately. The IT is so complicated that the most brilliant people are the ones who can take a highly complex system and turn it into something that can be simplicity. Web3 is disastrously poorly designed. It's horribly over-engineered by extremely intelligent people who have no practical sense whatsoever. And these are my worst type of technologists. If I detect that type of technologist in real life, whether I'm working with them or I see them at a conference or at a pub, I will do everything in my power to get out of the room and go somewhere far away from them. Because, SQLite, exactly. So, people who don't understand why Web3 is a bad idea are not thinking in practical terms. I absolutely despise engineers who are not practical, who do things because they can, who like to pick technology because it's cool and because it's complex. I despise technology for technology's sake. I'll go swing in a hammock. I will. Technology serves one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to enable life to be better and to go on and to, and create harmony in the universe and all of those things. And any technology that distracts from that, especially if it's claiming to do that and it fails to hypocritically, I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's Web3. That's Web3, that's NFTs, that's any of the crypto stuff. Am I opposed to people exploring the realm and see if it's a good way to secure exchanges between banks and stuff? Possibly. I'm just tired of impractical people applying their extremely intelligent brains to things and coming up with shit that makes no sense at all. And by the way, HTML was a bad idea myself too. I think HTML was a bad idea. To a lesser degree, HTML was exactly this problem. Markdown was plenty fine. Why didn't they use it? Markdown was invented by writers who wanted something practical. HTML was invented by scientists. So they immediately went to the other scientists and they said, hey, scientists, what are you already using for like managing like data and stuff? Well, we're using this SCGML thing with some big ass acronym that doesn't make any sense to anybody and makes them sound really important. There does need to be a scientific approach to it, but I tell you that story because it's a perfect example of engineers screwing shit up. They do it all the time. Engineers fix problems, but they also create problems out of thin air because they're engineers. And I know because I've done it. I've done it so many times. Raise your hand if you've done it. Raise your hand if you've over-engineered a solution and you're like, you go get some coffee, you come back and you're like, and you look at it and you're like, you mean I could have, oh my God. Or here's a better one. Your wife, right? You're like going for a walk and you don't have a Twitch stream to torment with all of your ideas, right? Yeah, and you're talking to your you're like tormenting your wife with like technical knowledge, right? And she's trying really hard because she loves you to understand what you're saying, and she's trying to follow you because she loves you, and you try to follow her art stuff and everything, and out of nowhere she says, well, what if you did this? I mean, she's like, I'm not a techie or anything, but what if you just did that instead? And you're like, oh my god, you're a genius. Oh yeah, it's like so so Web3 to me. I mean, to answer the question, what do you think of Web3? I think Web3 is the epitome. It's like if you took all the people, like the whole Rick and Morty idea where you can separate the toxic selves from the good self. If you were to take all of the toxic over engineers self from every engineer and you were to put that in a big vat of actual goo in Rick and Morty style, and you were like have it like take on some sort of like nebulous form that could communicate, it would create Web3, because that's what it is. Web3 is the absolute worst possible design from the most over-engineered, impractical, frankly idiotic perspective you could ever imagine. And I that's all I have to say about that. It makes me really happy that at least I have my feet on the ground, and that sometimes I'm actually happy that I'm dumb compared to some of these other engineers, because it causes me to think things through more. I can't, spit out, complexity theory algorithms or do lambda calculus, at lunch. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. So I'm glad sometimes, because it keeps my feet on the ground and it makes me think through things. And think and ask questions like, why are all these dashes in all of our command lines? Getopt is a good example of over-engineered crap. When somebody created a user interface that was an engineer, it's like, we'll put one dash here for this, we'll put two dashes here, we'll allow colon for this. And that's why I made Bonsai, because I am a practical person. I don't like when people over-engineer stuff. And one of the most over-engineered things ever is Getopt. So that little rant about that. No experience with Snort and NIPS or NIDS. I wish